So here we have the Haydenshapes Raven. This is actually Dion Agius's new model, and it was designed with turns in mind. Dion's obviously been a big air guy for the past decade and a half, 2 decades? I don't know how old Dion is, but I'm sure we all remember his parts in the Kai Neville films, the Globe films, and it's a lot of big, lofty airs. And Dion decided at this later stage in his career that he wants to improve on his rail surfing. So he worked with Hayden to create this board, the Raven, and it's a shortboard made for 90s style grunty rail turns. The Raven has a swallowtail.
Really?
Yeah, it does. Beyond that, we've got some really beautiful artwork. Dion is a very aesthetically minded surfer, and so when he comes out with a model, I guess we should have expected that he'd want to splash some art on there. So there are a few different versions of the Raven art that you can get, but this is a pretty rad one. So we're gonna rock with this, and hopefully I can get my board out of the water and you'll be able to see it once or twice.
It's meant for rail surfing.
That's true, it is meant for rail surfing. Maybe we'll just keep it in the water. So we've been down here for like a week now, and the waves have been so small that I've been riding all these like alternative boards. So I've gotten really accustomed to riding like weird little twins and fishes and these like long things, and it felt really weird at first to hop back on a shortboard. But when I got into my first good wave, I was like, oh my God, this is why people ride these things. Like it just locked in so well, engaged with the wall. I was able to kind of do a bit of everything, you know, like some little carves, a couple lippers, tried a couple of very unsuccessful airs, but the board felt great. This board's maybe an inch and a half shorter than my standard shortboard. And usually when I get a board like this, they're really skatey and it feels like they're just kind of like zip, 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 zip. But this one has a lot of hold and drive. Like it really prefers to kind of like dig in. As for the fins, I rode the Joyride mediums today. They are on like the smaller side of the medium scale. They're basically the smallest medium fin that Futures makes, which seemed to go really well out here, I thought, because it wasn't like super punchy or tall or anything like that. So they were a good sort of in between. They got a ton of rake to them, so they helped out with some carbs. I think it's gonna go even better when we get even more swell. I'm really excited to try it in something a little bit bigger and punchier that I can like really rip into. All right, so just had our second session on the Raven at a really fun right-hand point break. I mean, this board out there, it just felt absolutely perfect. it has so much hold, even though it's a little bit on the shorter side or whatever, like it just wants to knife in. It feels like a perfect shortboard for like a steep, cuppy wave like this one. It never really feels like it's gonna catch. It's just really like flowy, but it also it wants to dig in. It's made to dig in, and I can kind of see what Dion and Hayden were going for with this whole thing. Basically just a really ideal shortboard if you want to work on carving turns and getting a little bit stronger in the pocket. Obviously my turns are still pretty weak because I've got little chicken baby legs, but this is a board that I would 100% keep riding when the waves are steep and cuppy like this. I decided to throw in the Vapor Core F6s. So the F6 is like a really standard neutral template. It's not super reiki, it's not super vertical. And Vapor Core is this new technology that Futures came out with that it's essentially carbon and then it's hollow on the inside. So the fins are extremely light, but they're still pretty stiff because they're made out of carbon. So it's kind of a good blend of both. And they're a little bit bigger than the Geordies. So these seem to hold in even better. And when I got a nice steep face, it really allowed me to just go kind of like, rah! It felt like it was just like throwing little daggers at the lip too. Like it just feels like a little knife, just like just easy to ride too. Like I can't come up with a criticism, honestly. It just feels like a great surfboard. If anything, I guess I'd want to try it at maybe like a little beach break as well, just to see a little versatility. Maybe go left, see how that feels.
Oh, that's Mikey? Oh shit.
I was just telling Mikey, sir, now like paddling.
Oh, Mikey's in the barrel right now.